Welcome to The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zamet, or the other way around, whatever you like. But this is the review for episode 6 of The Acolyte on Disney Plus. It's a live action series set about 100 years before the end of Revenge of the Sith, which is episode 3, just for the record. Let's get on with the review. Straight off the bat, this episode gets a 4 out of 10. Now, even though that is under 5, which is technically a pass, it's still not the worst thing I've encountered with Star Wars. Nothing really is. It's always got good and bad. The issue that I have mainly with this episode is it doesn't have to be about, action, lasers, lightsabers, and all this type of thing. But when the episode runs in a manner like Days of Our Lives, I don't know if you remember that. It was a particular, series, American series. And seriously, it would forever take the acting so slow that it was mind-blowingly slow. This did the same approach. Way too slow, trying to get somewhere, especially with whatever Jedi soul, who is still to this day a great actor. And this guy here, this known possible Sith, is great, 100%. But it's just so slow. The pacing was way too slow. The getting to somewhere was just not sufficient enough to really rewatch this episode. Star Wars is about really rewatching the whole thing, and it's this type of episode you would skip. It's just not much happening at all. I thought two things were a little bit cringeworthy. I thought the whole idea of this guy going into the sea and bathing and coming back, obviously he's going to be naked, and confronting the lady, which is Osha, was really weird. But it's fine. That's how the story is. I thought the little, cute little aliens that looked like the aliens in Jabba the Hutt's music band, the little, there was like a family of them. They were sort of like a version of the ones we were introduced to in Last Jedi, but a different version. I've forgotten their name. I've forgotten the character's name. My God, it was one of those characters you either love or hate again. I thought that would be cringeworthy, but, something, it's just a character. It was okay. I didn't think the design of the alien creature, whatever they were, was magnificent. It was just something small. There's not really a whole lot in this particular episode I can really discuss besides 4 out of 10. This series has gone from there to about there to about there and then to about there. I'm not going to get off the bandwagon here. I'll get on the bandwagon of people disliking this. I think it's still a worthy show. It still, has merit. It just really is, with this particular episode, becoming very lifeless. I'm not really excited in seeing the next episode, even though at the end of this particular episode, besides, so this is a bit of a spoiler, is, Osha puts on his mask, and there's sort of a breathing, natural but fear or type breathing, sort of gave a bit of a Darth Vader sort of thing. But there's not a whole much I'm actually looking forward to next week. Last week I was looking forward to this to see where it went, but it just was so slow. But anyway, 4 out of 10 is my review for The Acolyte Episode 6. To some Star Wars news, it has been reported that episode 10, sorry, the Mandalorian film, which is the next scheduled release theatrical movie for Star Wars, is set to open on the same date as June 3, which is the most interesting thing to do. And I'll tell you this, I reckon if I were both the companies were releasing this, I personally think this would be more beneficial than non-beneficial to both. Even though June 3 and Star Wars is a, space adventure and or sci-fi, which some would refer to, June is more sci-fi. Star Wars to me is a space adventure, as it's always been and said to be anyway by George Lucas. I think that would create a real space nerd's dream in seeing these two movies on the one day. It will kill each other's box office a little on the opening day, opening weekend, but I think it would have an interesting but an up effect on the whole space, nerd as I am. I'm a nerd with space movies, and I love movies generally. That's the whole thing. But I think they shouldn't move from each other. It's definitely going to be a bit of a face off if it does fruition in no one actually moving. Which one do I think is weaker? If someone were to move, I think personally, my humble opinion, I was not such a Dune fan. It was good, but it was okay. Star Wars, Star Wars is Star Wars. I think this fan base with Star Wars, even with the dislike and the toxic and the hatred and the part of the DNA that we must dislike certain things badly and get out of control, I do think Star Wars would have the winning box office for that particular release, The Mandalorian. I just think that is going to be the win for that particular weekend if they both stay June 3 and The Mandalorian, which is the next theatrical Star Wars movie release in 2026, that is. So there's plenty of time to move. In the meantime, it's going to probably promote itself, sort of having a challenge to each other for both movies. I've heard that June 3, amongst the June lovers, that the story for June 3 is not a great story, but so there's a challenge in itself. And Mandalorian, coming from a season that I liked, but a lot of people didn't like, coming back from that, becoming, great again, without being a Trump here. So it's going to be interesting. But that's the Star Wars news and pretty much my review for this time around. Anyway, I will be back next week. Maybe not as early as this. I'm amazed I'm this early on doing a review, but I got my act together today. Anyway. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking.